There are ways to survive a headshot, but I mean, the right conditions. We're talking like, a hair's width, right? Even then, it's like, probably not, but you could.
Survive, right?
Survive.
You might be a vegetable after.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Gabby Gifford, the senator or congresswoman from Arizona who was shot back in 2010, she's still walking. That was a 9mm point blank range.
Also, the guy who was there when Reagan, attempted
Brady.
assassination on Reagan, Brady. Yeah.
Brady, yep.
He got shot in the head, right?
Yep. So I mean, you can survive, and there's a lot of factors. So first off, you want the smallest.
Is she like functioning normally?
Yeah. I mean, not normally. She has deficits.
All right, Steve. Remember, we can't show this stuff. Okay.
Oh.
That poor guy.
Yeah.
He's an astronaut.
Yep, and he's also a senator now too, from same state.
Yeah.
What happened to him?
Well, he's sleeping with her.
Yeah.
Oh.
So at the DNC back in like 2010, she recited the Pledge of Allegiance, and she was getting through it, but with like some difficulty. But she stood up and like, I pledge allegiance to the flag, and so she's not the same person, right? You're going to have changes in personality and brain function, and it's very sad.
Man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
What kind of gun was it?
I think it was a 9mm.
A 9mm.
And one of the factors, so
The velocity is a huge factor, right?
Huge factor. The velocity is bigger than the caliber. Because the higher the velocity, the bigger the shockwave that's being put on the head. So the way I kind of started this video, the way I kind of got into it is my dad bought a book on forensics about all kinds of shots in the body, stomach, foot, leg, head, neck. And there was a whole section on getting shot in the head. And I was just like drawn to this book. Yeah. Malala too. Yeah. I think she was shot with an AK.
Right through the top of her head?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
The book.
The book, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's this whole section on getting shot in the head. I'm thinking like, bullet goes in, bullet goes out, like you're dead. But the amount of like details that go into the physics of getting shot in the head, I'm like, this is incredible. Like one thing that just threw me away was when the bullet goes in the head and the shockwave expands the tissue in the skull, you get cracking at the temples and sometimes the orbital because the skull is expanding. And you just don't think about that stuff. You're like, yeah, it's like a puncture wound. It's like, it's really not,
The bullet's also spinning, right?
It's spinning, yeah. But the actual shockwave is from the production of the shockwave is the velocity of the bullet going in,
right?
So I made a video on can you survive a headshot, or like how to survive a headshot. And the ways that you survive, again, is a smaller caliber and a lower velocity. So this is like a pistol, like handgun. The best cases is like a 22 caliber pistol,
From 100 yards away.
Yeah, right. The farther away, the much better.
And there's reports of people being shot in the head with one of those with like small caliber handguns and the bullet just bouncing off their head.
If it's a far enough distance, if it loses enough energy, and it doesn't bounce off like a ping pong ball. I mean, it's like you're getting smacked with like a hammer because that thing still has a ton of energy. It's not enough to puncture and go into your skull, but it's enough to deposit that energy, and it's just boom. My dad was telling me a story. One of his friends went out to, this is during the Iraq War or something, and the insurgents were shooting their AK-47s up in the air, and a bullet came down and hit a kid in the head. It had lost enough energy where it didn't puncture, but like he got smacked in the head with like the force of like a hammer. The kid lived, but it was just,
Brain damage?
I'm not sure the actual like degree of damage, but the kid did live.
I had a guy in here who was, I believe, I always forget I think he was with the Ranger Regiment, and he was in Libya, I think it was, one of the bordering countries of Israel, and they were training some people in that country, and they were training these like, this foreign military in like counterinsurgency and stuff like that, and they were doing a drill, and one of the people from the group they were training did this stupid thing where he took his assault rifle and just started like sweeping the ground, like like that. And he should have been doing that, but one of the bullets went like astray, as they all did. Most people hit the deck. He got a bullet right to the head, but he was wearing a helmet.
Sure.
So it fucking hit the helmet blew off, and it shot him like 6 feet backwards and completely knocked him out.
Wow.
And then he got admitted to that CIA's remote viewing program. But like he talks about how it like really changed him, like that experience. Like he had some crazy dream that he said he thought it was like lasted for days, and he had a dream of like dying and coming back. And then when he finally got like woken up, they did all these psychiatric experiments on him.
Wow.
Yeah, man. It's crazy. I mean, he's still with it. He's still, super sharp and with it. But it like made him more spiritual.
Wow. Yeah. Well, near death experience.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But like a direct hit from a bullet from an assault rifle to the helmet. Like
did it pierce the helmet? Like did it really?
Maybe it did.
Slightly, or
maybe it slightly.
I thought it did, but it didn't. Obviously hit his head.
The bullet never hit his head. I think it might have pierced the helmet, but it somehow blew the helmet off and like was a concussive hit
Sure it was.
to him and just knocked him back like 6 feet.
Gosh. Wild.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
it's still very lethal. I mean, you could have cracking of the skull, just a concussion, your brain bouncing back off your skull.
Yeah.
Jeez. Gosh. But yeah, to survive a headshot, again, lower caliber, smaller velocity. Big thing is the hemispheres of the brain. Gabby Gifford and a couple other people I'd mentioned in the one video, most of the bullets had gone through one hemisphere. And this has to do with connectivity in the brain. If you cross two hemispheres, if one hemisphere is damaged, you have the other to kind of compensate. But if it goes through both, first off, you're losing both sides. So that's a deficit there. Also, if you cross the hemisphere, there's a good chance, first off, you're going to break connection in the brain. There's a lot of connection between the left and right hemispheres.
Yeah.
And so even if, you have a bullet that goes through one hemisphere and kind of goes through the other, if it breaks enough connectivity, it can't compensate, But a big thing is if you have a bullet go through both hemispheres and it hits the amygdala, the brainstem, the hypothalamus, it's over. I mean, those are like your most primordial sections of the brain that keep you alive. Those get hit, you're out. You're done. Period. But if one hemisphere, this way or like kind of diagonal, you can live. I mean, I wouldn't ever say, hey, like, let's try it, one hemisphere, boom. But it's just you have better chances. So